What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and just hadn't had the time to do it, or hadn't taken the time to do it. But today I've got a little bit of free time, so I thought I would just sit down and talk for a minute about kind of what happened with my heart whenever I had to go into surgery. The reason I'm doing this, basically there was a lot of things for years, almost my whole life, that led into the problems I ended up having. Had a lot of different symptoms and stuff that I didn't even know were heart related. Looking back, it should have made sense. But since I went through all of that for so many years and could have done something about it a lot earlier and it not been near as dangerous, I just thought that I would make a video, put it out there public in case anybody was wondering. If you're watching this video, more than likely you're either a friend of mine and a subscriber, or have subscribed and are going to see what I'm doing next, or you have seen the thumbnail and just happened to click on it to figure out maybe if something's happened with your body, maybe something in this video I'm going to talk about. So anyway, it's probably going to be a fairly long video. I'm going to kind of break it up into three different parts. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened, all the symptoms over the years. Something to be watching out for, if there's something going on with you that you can't really explain or think maybe it's something else. Number two, if you know somebody else that has had these symptoms, or someone who has had to go into heart surgery and you're not really sure what to expect, I'm going to kind of go over what I went through as a patient and what I needed from my family, from my wife, from the doctors, nurses, things that may help you out if you're trying to help someone else been in the same situation. And then third, I'd like to kind of touch on a little bit how that led into starting this YouTube channel. But anyway, let's kind of get started. Like I said, it's kind of in three parts. So if there's something in there that you may not be interested in, if you just want to fast forward or skip through or whatever, but I would kind of recommend watching the entire thing, just because I'm going to go over some stuff in here that may catch you by surprise as to stuff that was symptoms of what happened with my heart that not only was interesting to me once it was all said and done, but also would have been very helpful to have known to begin with, and kept me out of an ambulance and may have just been some routine surgery. So anyway, let's get started. Well, all right, first off, when I was young, even when I was in elementary school, we had like the presidential fitness test, where you went out and you did pull-ups and sit-ups and shuttle run and ran the mile and all. Well, I never could run a mile. Even when I was a little kid, I did a lot of playing outside, riding bicycles, running around, but I never could run a mile. I'd get to a quarter mile, have to slow down, stop and walk, get to half mile, have to walk. My heart would get to pounding, and I just have to stop a minute, let it catch back up. My lungs were fine, my legs were fine. I wouldn't actually get out of breath. It was more like my heart would just get to beating real fast, and I would have to stop and let it slow down, or I felt like I was just going to pass out. Well, as I got to be in my teens and 20s, I ended up having to have sinus surgery when I was about 14. And then again when I was about 21, 22, and I had to have a hernia surgery too. Well, after that second surgery, my blood pressure, the doctor told me that my blood pressure was extremely high. Wanted me to go and see a cardiologist. So I made the appointment, and now keep in mind, I couldn't stand going to the doctor. It made me nervous. I was scared of the doctor, like I guess a lot of people are. I just wouldn't have admitted it at the time. But I ended up making an appointment with the cardiologist, went and saw him. And when he took my blood pressure, it was 220 over 110. At the time, that didn't mean anything to me. I didn't know what healthy or unhealthy blood pressure was. I just knew I was about 21, 22 years old, and there was no way that I was about half dead because of my blood pressure. I did know that I had been working out. I was big into bodybuilding when I was a kid, and I had gone from about 140, 150 pounds when I was 14, 15 years old to about 240 by the time I was in my early 20s. And now I didn't get there by eating lettuce and baked chicken. I mean, I was eating Hormel chili for breakfast. I was eating, hamburgers from fast food places every day for lunch, sometimes 4 at a time. Going to Taco Bell, getting 12 tacos. I was eating pure garbage. So, in my mind, I'm thinking, between the sodium and the fat and the cholesterol and all this other stuff, like, it has got my blood pressure through the roof. Like, I had been, reading a lot about nutrition and stuff. I just wasn't really doing it because I was bulky. I wanted to be huge and strong, and I was. But I was also fat and very out of shape. So I knew my blood pressure was probably, high. So what he wanted to do, the doctor, the cardiologist, wanted me to go and have some tests done. He wanted me to have an echocardiogram, stress test, a few other things, and take a look at my heart, kind of see what was going on. And I explained to him, what the deal was with my weight and what I was eating. And he said, still, at my age, there shouldn't have been a reason why it was that elevated. Even with white coat syndrome, even going there and then taking my blood pressure, it should not have been that high. Well, I assumed that he was an idiot, and I was in my 20s, so obviously I knew everything and was going to self-diagnose myself, and I was going to fix it. So, that being said, that was the last day that I went to the doctor. And when I say last day, I have not been to the doctor. I'm 41 years old now. When this happened with my heart, I was 40 years old, a few months before my birthday. And I have not been to the doctor in 20 years. I do not recommend that, especially anymore. Now, like I said, I've always exercised and I've learned to eat healthy and that kind of thing, but I did not have any idea that something could sneak up on you as dangerous as what happened to me. So, anyway, all that being said, as time went on, when I'd go to the gym and stuff, when I'd get to working out, exercising, riding the bicycle, anything I tried to do that got my heart rate elevated, I would always have to stop, calm down, wait for my heart to slow back down again. It was the same way since I was a little kid. It wasn't anything new. My heart never did get out of rhythm or act funny. It would just get to beating really fast, really hard. So I just got used to how to adapt to that. Well, over the years, I just always assumed I wasn't in good enough shape. So I would run and ride a bike and ride a bike and ride a bike and try to get my heart in shape because I never could. I just still couldn't even run 1 mile. And I had friends of mine running 5 and 6 every morning before work. So it was aggravating to me. Well, when I was probably about 25, 26 years old. No, it was a little bit later than that. Me and Christy got married at 20 when I was 26. It was a couple years after we got married, so I was probably 28. I had a real bad gout flare up in my foot. Well, it hurt terribly bad. Caught me off guard. I didn't really know what it was. Did not go to the doctor and get diagnosed with gout. It was another self-diagnosis thing. I Googled it, tried to figure out what was wrong. My foot had swelled up, turned just blood red, was hot, and just hurt, in my joints. My toe joint was real bad. And then finally, I got to drinking a lot of water and apple cider vinegar, and that thing kind of cleared it up. And now I do a lot of deer hunting. I eat a lot of wild game meat, which they say, not to eat if you've got gout. So that time too, I was drinking some beers just about every night, and I was like, well, I need to cut all that out for a while and clear this up. Well, I did, and it went away. Well, over the next, I'll say 10, 15 years, it gradually got worse and worse and worse to the point to where I was having gout flare-ups about once a month, even if it was only in a wrist joint or in my big toe joint. And when I realized it was happening, I knew, it was time to cut out red meat. It was time to drink plenty of water, apple cider vinegar, celery seed, all the stuff that I'd read about online. And I would clear it up and it would go away until about 2 years ago, to where I was having flare-ups about every 2 weeks, and it seemed like before one would fully go away, I would end up with a flare-up somewhere else. Also, I started to develop what I assumed was arthritis in my fingers. For 25 years, I'd been a meat market manager, and I've been working on concrete, standing on my feet. So in my mind, I'm thinking my feet are pretty much ruined because I've been standing on my feet all these years. And it was frustrating because I worked with people that were 70 and 80 years old that had done the same thing twice as long as I had, and they got around better than I did. Well, through all of this, about a year ago, I had to go get contacts. Well, we went to a different eye vision, some kind of vision center or something, and they actually take your blood pressure before your eye exam, which I've never seen before. But I went in there, the girl took my blood pressure. When she took it, she went and got a different cuff and went and got someone else, had them do it. And it was one of those deals, my blood pressure was up around 200 over 100. And this was about, it's been probably a year and a half ago. And she had asked me if I'd ever had my blood pressure taken. I said, yeah. I said, it runs high, and I get white coat syndrome, so when I come in here, and that was just an excuse. I told her to get her to leave me alone, and she did, which I kind of wish now that she had not. But that being said, we got the eye exam done and all, and within about 2 or 3 months after that, my legs really started going downhill to the point to where I missed 3 full weeks of work in a row and couldn't even walk on crutches. When I would walk and work, if I took a day and I worked say 8 hours or 10 hours straight on concrete, walking a lot, really using my feet, the next day I couldn't even stand up. My arches would fall, which is something else that my whole life I've had flat feet. I had no arch. My feet were just perfectly flat. I could walk in the sand at the beach and it just looked like a duck foot. You couldn't even see an outline of an arch. And I've been in a size 14 shoe, narrow size 14, for probably close to 20 years. Well, once all of this happened, and my feet get worse and worse, my legs get worse and worse, and Christy's trying to get me to go to the doctor. She's like, you've got to go get your feet checked. You're going to have to get this fixed because you can't even get around. You can't work. You can't make money. Like, this is going to end up being a problem. Well, we had planned on trying to pay the house off in January. I was going to quit, go full-time in my taxidermy shop. That was going to be the end of it. Well, deer season ended February the 10th. I'd gone to part-time. I was working 3 days a week, and I started doing all these deer heads I had gotten in. I had about 186 that I had to do. Well, February the 12th, I was riding my stationary bike, and my heart just got out of rhythm. No pain, no chest pain, no shortness of breath, nothing. I went there and I told Christy, she was working from home at the time, I told her, my heart's acting funny, so I think we probably need to go to the doctor. And she said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. She said, you've never said you wanted to go to the doctor. And I was like, yeah. I said, well, it's kind of bothered me. I said, I'm afraid I'm going to pass out in a minute or something. I said, you ain't going to be able to pick me up. And I'd rather go while we can, go get checked out. So we were so non-concerned that I went in the bathroom and I shaved, trimmed my beard, took a shower, got dressed, and we went to urgent care. Didn't even go to the hospital. We just went up to urgent care. Well, they listened to my heart and sent me straight to the emergency room at Coleman and wanted me to have an echocardiogram. Said something didn't sound right. Well, when they checked it, they couldn't see my heart. It was just a cloud of blood. I'd had an aortic aneurysm that had developed over a period of time, and it had split. I had an aortic dissection that split 9 centimeters, or 9 millimeters, and I was bleeding out internally. The doctor told us there was a very good chance I would not make it into surgery. He told me and my wife to spend some time together before the ambulance got there because it might be the last time we saw each other. Now, I'm not trying to scare you all to death or anything. I'm just saying that all these years ago, number one, if I had gone and got the echo done, they would have looked and seen that my heart valve was not operating correctly. My aortic valve apparently probably was messed up since I was born and just did not operate correctly. I had blood coming into my heart faster than it was leaving my heart. So it caused, when I would bend over and stand up several times in a row, exercising, or walk up a hill or a steep incline, try to jog, do any kind of cardiovascular workout, it would cause my heart rate to steadily increase. And then it would kind of get to pounding. And it wasn't like adrenaline rush. It wasn't like it would get to fluttering and beating really, really fast. Suddenly, it would just gradually get higher and higher to the point where I just had to stop and slow down and wait a second, let it catch back up, and then I could go right back as hard as I was going to begin with. And like I said, looking back, the whole time I was basically tearing myself to pieces and just did not realize it. My heart, the last last echo that they did on me was a couple of months ago. The girl told me that my heart had shrunk by nearly half the size that it was back in February. And now, I don't know when you're going to watch this video, but today I think is November I think it's the 17th or 18th of 2021. This was February 12th, 2021 when this happened with my heart when I had surgery. So, I mean, you can imagine my heart being twice the size it is right now, and over a period of these 30, 40 years, it has grown bigger and bigger and bigger and put all this stress on all of my vessels, on all of my heart and the lack of circulation, all of my organs. So another thing that was happening to me, I was having to get up 3 or 4 times during the night and go to the bathroom. And, I was just attributing it to maybe I had a little bit of a swollen prostate, or, I'm just getting older. That's, that kind of thing that you attribute to work and age and hard living, Well, come to find out, my kidneys were probably pretty close to shutting down. That was something else that had happened. Also, over the last probably 5 years, my gums had begun to recede. They say when you get older, you've heard the saying, they're getting long in the tooth. Well, a lot of that is because as you get older, as you lose circulation and stuff, and your body gets weaker, your tissues begin to recede because they don't have as much blood flow and blood circulation. Now, I didn't know that at the time. Looking back and talking to the doctors and nurses and stuff, there's been a lot happen that I've learned about. And one of them was the tissues receding. And my gums had receded to a point to where I actually began to notice it. And I was like, man, my teeth are going to start getting loose. If my gums keep receding, I'm afraid my teeth are going to start falling out. And I didn't know what to do about it. Sure didn't want to go to the doctor or the dentist, but, none of that. I wasn't dealing with it. So, anyway, once I had the surgery, once all that was over with, my gums began to plump back up, which was crazy. And now my gums are actually, started to come further down my teeth than they ever have ever since I was a kid. I mean, like to the point to where my teeth started actually pushing together like I had braces. And I've always had some gaps in between my teeth, but those gaps have begun filling in and my teeth have begun pushing themselves together. It's really been odd. But alongside that, I've had ingrown fingernails, ingrown toenails. I've never even heard of an ingrown fingernail, but it's similar to an ingrown toenail. It would be painful for a few days. It never got real bad. I didn't have to go have it dug out or anything. But just the tissue plumping up around my fingernails are about, probably an 1/8 inch shorter now, the parts you can see, just because of the tissue that's grown back up on them. Something else that happened, my feet, my arches, from all the tissues and stuff getting from all the tissues and stuff in my feet actually, beginning to not just heal up, but change. As vessels have grown and blood flow has gotten better and better and better in my legs and feet, my tendons and ligaments in my feet have started to pull my arch up. So my feet now have got this huge arch that they've never had since I was a little kid. It's kind of strange because I've never heard anybody's shoe size going down, but because my feet have stood up, I've actually dropped down to a size 13 shoe, and now I'm wearing a double E width because my muscle and my tendons and all my feet have actually gotten wider and thicker and stood up, so they're not as long as far as the shoes I wear. Plus, it doesn't hurt anymore to wear a high arching shoe. But I mean, it's a good thing. They're not only healthy, but I have zero pain. I've had 0 gout flare-ups. The gout crystals, the crystals from the whatever it is, it gets in your joints that causes gout. They just weren't getting flushed out. I didn't have enough blood flow to keep those crystals from forming in my joints, and they would just pile up and pile up and pile up, and I would just get to hurting until I basically had to live off of water for a week or two until my body flushed itself out. No arthritis. All the arthritis I thought I had in my fingers, my legs, knees, and all, I don't have any pain at all anymore. I feel like I did when I was 20 years old. And I know you've probably heard people say that before, but I really seriously, if I had known that this surgery was going to go as good as it went, and that I would end up healthy and okay, and it, wouldn't have ended in some kind of horror story, I would have volunteered to have heart surgery when I was 21 years old and had my valve replaced and been done with it. And because, if I had known I could have felt this good for the last 15 years, it could have changed my life in so many different ways. There's been a lot of things I haven't been able to do that I really enjoy doing the last, especially 2 years, just because of the deterioration of my body due to lack of blood, lack of oxygen, my energy levels from not having enough blood flow in my lungs. My body was not getting hardly any oxygen. My oxygen saturation when I got to the hospital, if I'm not mistaken, was 82%. And obviously that's supposed to be 100% is perfect, it's where it's supposed to be. And I was running at 82% and didn't even know I had anything wrong with me. When I actually went to the hospital, I just knew that my heart was out of rhythm. So you can imagine how you feel at 82% oxygen saturation. Well, you probably can't imagine how you feel at 82% oxygen saturation, but I'm going to tell you, you feel horrible. It doesn't even make you tired. It makes you weak. It makes you ill. You're just lethargic, and I was so weak for the last 2 years. I had gotten to where I couldn't bend over and pick up a box of anything. It wasn't even that heavy. It could be 40, 50 pounds, and I just couldn't pick it up anymore. And it wasn't like I felt like I needed to exercise. It actually physically hurt to try to pick it up. My body wouldn't do it. I couldn't jump off of a tailgate of a truck, or I couldn't step up on a ladder. Even the rungs of the ladder hurt my feet so bad. I just couldn't do it anymore. And like I said, now all of that's corrected. But anyway, that's pretty much all the symptoms I can think of that I've had over the last 15, 20 years that were just directly related to that bad aortic valve. So if you know anybody that's having these troubles, especially gout, I know several people in our family that have got gout, and they're also dealing with heart-related issues right now that they haven't had corrected yet. And I'm really interested to see if when they get their heart in rhythm, when they get these little problems fixed that they're having, if it stops the gout flare-ups just because of the extra blood circulation. Just something to think about. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go into the post-operation and kind of what to expect if you know somebody that's going to have this done, or if you've got to have it done, kind of what you can expect to happen. Number one, when I woke up, probably one of the first things that I noticed was I had this giant thing on my chest that looked like a Band-Aid. They call it a wound vac. It's something that they've started doing recently. I don't know if every hospital is doing it. I had my surgery done at UAB in Birmingham. And I don't care where you're at in the world. If you ever have to have open heart surgery, I would suggest you go to UAB in Birmingham and have it done there. Because I've heard some horror stories about some other places. I've even, I know people that have been to other hospitals for just different things and just had nightmare, visits just between bad nursing, bad food, bad doctors, bad diagnosis. UAB has it all. It's like being in a 5-star hotel. They take care of you. They're kind. Everybody is kind, not just the staff that has their doctorates and nursing degrees, but I'm talking about the men that were changing the garbage bags in my room were asking me if I needed anything. But anyway, that's a little off subject, but very important. When it comes to life or death situation, I'm telling you, they're top notch. But anyhow, that wound vac, that's what they used on me, and it's like a vacuum seal, just kind of like one of those food saver vacuum things you put food in, but it looks like a Band-Aid. It's got a hose come out of it connected to a battery pack. Well, when they cut me open, they had to wire my sternum back shut with wires. Well, when they closed the actual flesh wound, they put that back on there. They don't stitch or staple anymore. They put that vacuum seal on there and hit this button, and it vacuum seals it shut. And it's in a vacuum for 7 days. When the batteries die in that pack, it releases, undoes the vacuum, and you can peel it off like a Band-Aid. And when you peel it off, it looks like a scar that you had from surgery 10 years ago. There was very little scarring, very little raised scarring. It's very smooth, very neat, and you don't have any pain. That was something else that surprised me. They had to remove a mammary artery out of this side of my chest to replace my aorta because it had torn. That spot where they cut through that muscle is still a little bit stiff, and that was the only pain I had from the surgery. You can't feel where they operated on my heart. I had a mechanical aortic valve put in, and I couldn't tell they had even operated on my heart. I don't know if your heart doesn't have nerves in it that you can really feel pain. I'm sure if you've had like a heart attack, you could feel that contraction and stuff, but as far as physical pain, I never had any. And then my chest wound did not even hurt at all. I had zero pain from that, which was surprising. I was on, they had me on medication, obviously, after I had the operation. But I was taking Tylenol 5 or 6 days after surgery, and I never took any more heavy pain medicine. Only just Tylenol. So that was very surprising and a very pleasant surprise, to say the least. But one problem that I did have, when you don't have any clothes on, you've got on a hospital gown the whole time you're in the hospital. Well, right at your butt bone, right above the crack of your butt, you will get a sore to the point to where you can start bleeding from sliding back and forth and sitting up and trying to move around without any clothes on except that gown. That gown's like starch, it's not soft, and you do a lot of laying, but the problem is you do a lot of sliding. With all that stuff in your chest, you're going to have chest tubes that drain all the fluids. Plus you've got IV lines in. I had a PICC line in. I had a pacemaker, temporary pacemaker lines in. I had 4 drain tubes connected onto drain pumps. You got to use a walker, obviously. And with all this stuff going on, your IV rack and everything else, when you're sleeping or laying or anything, when you go to do anything, you got to take all these lines and stuff, and you have to kind of move them, so you're always sliding. You can't just jump up and sit up and slide around and jump around like you didn't ever have heart surgery. So all that sliding and scooting makes for a very bad, rough spot on your rear end. And I'm telling you, that right there was more painful to me for weeks. It probably lasted close to 2 months before it ever actually healed up to the point where I could sit in a chair normally. I did a lot of sitting forward, where I would just have to sit, like this for hours at a time because it hurt so bad. And it did help to, get like some Neosporin or something, put a piece of gauze and some tape over it or something, just to where when you went to move, it didn't create friction on that spot. But that was horrible. So I would suggest getting some kind of padded seat to sit in that's got a cutaway back on it, similar to a neck pillow. I would straight out the gate, before you even go to the hospital, for yourself or whoever you're going with for this surgery, get you something like that you can sit on that takes the pressure off of that tailbone. Something else is you're going to be doing a lot of sleeping sitting up. Even in the hospital, I never did lay the bed down completely. Your heart, when you have heart surgery, there's a lot of seepage, what they call it. Sounds disgusting, but I mean you're going to bleed a little bit from all the cutting and incisions and stitches and all that stuff inside your body, and that's what those drain tubes are for. And what that allows is it drains the fluids out from behind your rib cage so that it doesn't build up in your chest. So when you lay down, those fluids build up slowly. When it puts a lot of pressure on your chest, it makes it kind of hard to breathe, and it makes your heart, you can feel your heart moving on that stuff, and it makes you very uncomfortable. But I started noticing that when I would sit up, or if I would stand up, within just 30 seconds or so, it felt like all of that just went away. And I felt 100 times better. So make sure, especially if it's somebody elderly that's having trouble, not just getting up, but sometimes elderly, when they get on medication and stuff, they even have a hard time sometimes with some decision making. And they may not know what they need to do, they just know they hurt. And it's good to get them up, at least sit them up every once in a while, even if it takes, sitting them up and telling them a story or reading them a book or something for a minute. If they can sit up long enough for those tubes to drain that fluid and let all that stuff drain, then it will make them feel way, way, way better. Also, when they begin to walk you in the hospital, a couple of days after surgery, they'll have you up and have you start walking. It's a little bit uncomfortable because all the stuff hanging off of you, but that makes you feel 100 times better. So the more often you can walk, do it. We actually, after a few days, I got to noticing how much better I felt after walking for about the next 2 hours, that we actually asked them for a walker and an oxygen tank that we could keep in our room, so that every couple of hours when I got to feeling a little bit bad, me and Chrissy just get up, hook up to the oxygen, and we'd take off down the hall. And I would walk as often as I could just to keep the fluid drained off of me. It made me feel way better. Plus it makes it easier to breathe. And being able to breathe and get those deep breaths keeps pneumonia from setting up while you're in there post-op. But that made a huge difference. All right, well, something else that you're going to have to kind of look out for is some crazy mood swings. And I don't mean like necessarily mad mood swings. I mean, it's frustrating. You're going to have times where post-surgery, anybody that's ever had surgery, they know how frustrating it can be to try and do certain things. But I'm talking more like a little bit of anxiety, because you're constantly going to feel like your heart's going to quit working. And then on top of that, you get very, very emotional. It's really hard to explain. And if you ever talk to a heart patient, almost all of them will tell you the same thing. I've heard this from probably 3 or 4 people that I'm very close to, that I'd forgotten they'd even had heart surgery, because you never think about it if it's not you, But they told me the same thing. Even right after my surgery, they were like, well, how many times have you just broke down and started crying? Or how many times have, you felt really bad about something you did 10 years ago? And it's a weird feeling, because even if you're not that emotional of a person, and I can get emotional. I like to, I like memories, and I'm really attached to family and friends, and I like a social environment to a point. I like sharing stuff with people. So, I don't know, I wouldn't say that I'm really an emotional person, but ever since surgery, it makes you think of things differently. So it's not just like a crazy thing because you were on medication and you just cry at random. It's more like when somebody, when you see somebody that doesn't appreciate, I guess, their health, it bothers you. Like after surgery, ever since surgery, I haven't had any caffeine. It scares me to death to even think about drinking caffeine. I'm afraid my heart will go haywire. I haven't had any alcohol. You can't have alcohol when you're on warfarin. It'll thin your blood too fast. You start bleeding internally. No tobacco. Haven't had any of that kind of stuff. And, used to, if I wanted a beer, I drank a beer. If I wanted a dip, I got me a dip. You don't think nothing about it. I drank 2 or 3 energy drinks a day. Now, when I see somebody doing it, it's not that I'm condemning them in my mind. It's just when you almost die, and then all of a sudden you wake up from surgery and you're still here, it gives you a different appreciation for life itself. So you can expect either yourself or a patient that if they're having heart surgery, you can expect them to be very offended if you pull out a cigarette, or if you drink 6 or 8 drinks a day. there's stuff that bothers you because you know they have no idea how close they are to dying every day. And not because of what they're doing, but just because we're all that close to dying possibly. I mean, you never know. You know, that's one thing that I noticed in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. You don't think about, I guess, regret the way that people would imagine you would feel. You know, when you find out that you're going to die, it is a kind of regret, but it's more like you start thinking about the last time that you did everything and how it went, who you talked to, what you told them, or you know what you experienced and you didn't pay attention to. Well, after you come out of surgery and you're okay, then all of a sudden it becomes extremely emotional because you're so attached to all those things that you're afraid you're never going to get to do again. When I got home, I mean, you know, my mom and my wife, they're wanting to go outside and walk around my house with me. You know, it's the first time I was going to get to go outside and kind of enjoy just walking through the grass. You know, just go outside and walk around my house and just get out, because I'd been cooped up for however, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, hadn't left the bed basically. So we go outside, and the first thing I noticed was the smell of the trees and the grass. You know, something that you don't think about since, I mean, when I was a little kid, I remember what trees and grass smelled like. I remember that smell as a memory from when I was very young. Well, all of a sudden, you notice that again after all this. And it's been, 8-9 months now, and I still smell all of that when I go outside. And it's not like it just happens and you notice it. You actually enjoy it and expect it. So as a recovering heart patient, even the little things now are so important to me. And I want everybody to understand that for themselves. You know, it's one of those situations where I wish everybody could do it and come out on top and healthy and learn what it feels like to know that this is it, that that's your last day on earth. And then wake up again and learn that it wasn't. It's a different kind of feeling. You can't explain it. Like I said, I've talked to several other heart patients that told me the same thing about it being emotional. It's not the scary part of it that's emotional. It's the relief of being able to still be alive and the appreciation you get for life that you didn't have before, even when you didn't think you were taking anything for granted. So try to be, I'm not going to say be lenient, you know, if you know somebody that's having this done, but be very respectful of their feelings and very respectful of what you say and think and do in front of them. When it comes to your job or your family or, you know, any kind of complaints you've got with any situation. I mean, if the traffic's bad, whatever, like, there are things that we complain about daily that really are not that important, but that at that time to us it's important because it's inconvenient. Well, when you've got somebody that just came out of surgery that thought they were going to die, they'd go sit in traffic for the next 10 years and enjoy it. So don't sit there and tell them how bad your day went because it was inconvenient. Also, they're going to be freezing because when you get on Coumadin, I've been hot-natured my whole life. I mean, you know, have it 60 degrees in the house in the wintertime. And now, it could be August, and I've got on a long sleeve shirt. So when you go to the hospital, bring plenty of clothes, because when they go get ready to go home, you're going to have jackets and sweatpants and a toboggan, all kind of junk, because that's something else you're not going to see coming. But in one day, you go from being the hot-natured guy that's always got the air conditioner on to somebody that needs 10 blankets. You know, it's like, you know, you all suddenly understand why all these old folks sitting around their house got their house at 85 degrees and you're miserable sweating. It's probably because they're on blood thinners. You know, something else too that helped me a lot when I got home, Christy's mama and stepdaddy had a recliner, one of those electric recliners, like you see for elderly people that will stand you up, and you can actually almost walk out of it. They got that thing and they toted it over here and put it in here for me, and man, it was a lifesaver. I don't know how much those things cost, but it was. If I hadn't had it here, I don't know what I would have done. It allowed me to get myself up at night to go to the bathroom and not have to bother Christy. Of course, she'd wake up most of the time because she was worried sick that something was going to happen. If I ever moved, she'd ask me if I was okay, which, you know, I love her to death for it. She was right there alongside me the whole time. But, you know, having that feeling of freedom also kind of helps you recover, you know, because you really don't know what you're ever going to be able to do again. It kind of bothers you, you know, when you first come out of surgery. It's like, man, you know, am I going to, I thought I might have to get on disability. I didn't know what I was going to be like later on. So that recliner not only would help you up, but it also took that pressure off my tailbone. The bottom of that recliner, you see in this chair, your butt sits down and it's made to relax you. It's just kind of plush. Well, this is the opposite of what you need when you come out of the hospital. You can't get up out of it. You can't sit up, flex, and move. And all your pressure is on your tailbone. You don't really notice it when you're healthy because you don't hurt. But that other chair, it's got a hump right in the middle of it, and it kind of catches you under your thighs. So there's no pressure on your lower back. It also has a big pad, a hump right behind your head, which seems a little uncomfortable at first, but when you sleep in it, it almost acts as a pillow. When you lay it out flat, your head can lay to one side over to the other, and it's extremely comfortable. So, you know, during the night, I mean, I was liable to move that thing 5 or 6 different times in different positions depending on my comfort level, and it was just a lifesaver being able to sleep. I slept in that recliner for, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months after surgery, and that was a huge help. So that's something that you may want to think about. You know, if you know somebody that's about to come home after surgery, they're going to need that. A regular recliner helps because, I mean, I couldn't sleep laying down. You know, all that fluid, you know, in my chest. Something that my brother bought me too. My brother and his wife, compression socks. Fantastic idea. If you know somebody that's having that done, get some compression socks. The ones that they bought me are called Pro Compression. It's got a PC logo on them. Those things are top notch, very good quality. I don't think you can tear them up. Yeah, because you got to pull on them hard to get them on your feet. They make some that have got expanded calves on them. So if you've got really big legs, somebody's got large legs, get the ones with the expanded calf, so it's not too tight around your calf muscle. But they kept my swelling in my legs way down post-op. They were very, very helpful. So there's a lot of days that you know your legs are going to swell. You're going to retain fluid from the knees down. Your ankles are going to swell up and stuff for quite a while. I think mine lasted close to 6 months, where you get that edema, you know, where your legs seep, and it just causes that fluid buildup. Now, exercise helps, makes a lot of that go away, but you know, you're not going to exercise 24 hours a day. They told me to do my bicycle 6 times a week at least for 30 minutes a day. Also told me that I could do some, you know, just some light exercises other than that, but make sure that you do that cardiovascular exercise. Treadmill, walking on a treadmill and riding that stationary bike, world of difference. I mean, within a month or so, you begin feeling better, and it's just exponential. Every month is like you feel twice as good and twice as good. Also, what that does is it helps keep your heart in rhythm. Every once in a while, you know, there's going to be a night to where your heart is going to beat 2 times fast, and then once, and then 2 times fast, and then once, and it's going to freak you out. Like, it's going to seem really strange. It was actually happening to me before I ever left the hospital every once in a while, and the nurses said that was normal. They had been watching my EKG, and said everything looked fine, because I was actually asking them about it. I was like, this feels funny. And I don't know that I would have felt it as much as I could hear it because of that mechanical valve. I could hear that clicking. So, there, my heart would stay in rhythm for, say, 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, one night, it would get just a little bit out of whack. And normally, what would have happened is either I had not ridden the bike that day, which seemed to clear it up every single time, or I was dehydrated. And when I say dehydrated, a lot of people don't realize how fast you can get dehydrated and not know it. When your mouth gets dry and you're thirsty, obviously you're dehydrated. Well, the water in your heart, it plays such a big part in your heart rhythm. And you would probably never know the difference unless you had a mechanical valve and could hear that clicking and that steady beat. But what I began to notice was, and my mom told me this because my grandmother has had heart problems, my mom has had some heart problems, my aunt has had heart problems, my uncle has had 2 valve replacements, and in about 2 weeks is going to have his 3rd. So she's very experienced in what happens with your heart, rhythm, and all this other stuff. So she told me specifically, she said, if your heart is getting out of rhythm, she said, go ahead and drink your glass of water. So when you get done, start on you another glass of water. She said, because there's a very good chance that your heart's out of rhythm because of dehydration. Well, the first time that it got out of rhythm, after she had told me that, once I had talked to her about what was happening, I went and got me a glass of water. Well, this is no lie. In 15 minutes, it had completely fixed itself. So keep that in mind. Always drink plenty of water. After that heart surgery, it was crucial. And I began to notice that the times it would get a little bit off, it was because I had gotten outside and either messed around a little bit in the garden or something. After I started feeling better, you kind of tend to overdo it. But also, it was summertime by then. So by the time it's July, August, it's 100 degrees outside. I'm out there messing around for several hours, wasn't drinking nothing. Well, by that night, when I sat down, it didn't bother me until I'd get relaxed. Once I'd get relaxed, my blood pressure would come down. All of a sudden, my heart would just get to acting kind of funny. And once I drank some water, then it would fix. And, if it didn't fix entirely, I could get on the bike, ride the bike for 30 minutes. It would smooth that after that, and everything was great. Something else. At night, when you go to sleep, especially with a mechanical heart valve, you got that clicking, turn the TV on. Just turn the TV on and start watching TV. It will not only take your mind off of that valve clicking, but it will also help you keep from hearing it, which will almost get your heart out of rhythm anyway. If you're listening to that clicking, all of a sudden your heart gets going crazy because you're between your, I don't know if it's adrenaline or whatever's going on with when your anxiety gets up, it just messes everything up. Everything gets out of whack anyway. But the more you think your heart's getting messed up, the more your heart's going to get messed up. That's just the way it is. So the more you can relax, better off you're going to be. I still, to this day, turn the TV on at night to go to sleep. And I've never done that before until after heart surgery. I may do it the rest of my life, just because, right now as we speak, I can hear my heart ticking. You get used to it, and it almost gets to where it's kind of, comforting, because you know that your heart is in rhythm, and you know that it's still beating. So that helps a lot. But, go ahead and put a TV in the bedroom, because you're going to need some kind of sound, a fan. Also, something that really did help was one of those water features that you can plug in and water runs over it, and just makes that water bubbling noise like a little waterfall. That was huge. I slept with that thing going for probably the first 2 months after surgery, until it got to the point where it was almost waking me up at night because it was a little bit loud. But that was a big help. So, something else to think about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was, really helpful after surgery. Did get a home health monitor for my Coumadin. I would highly recommend that. It's something that you got to pay for monthly. So, it's not incredibly expensive. I think it's the machine itself is about $500. And you can buy one, or you can, rent one from the companies that do it. The good thing about renting it, you're going to have to pay your deductible every year for it to cover that. So, if you haven't paid any on your deductible, which now that I'm going to the doctor all the time, my deductible is probably going to get met pretty quick every year. but you know, you can pay payments on that machine for about $150 a month till it's paid for. Once it's paid for, it's $30 a month. But that also provides you with your lancets to prick your finger to check your blood thickness, and all your test strips for the machine. And what it does, when you're on Coumadin, you got to check it once a week. So you don't have to go to the doctor when you've got one of those home health machines. Now, if you're on Coumadin, a lot of people that are on, like my mom's on Coumadin, she has to check hers about once a month. But with a mechanical valve, you've got to keep that INR, that thickness, right there within a certain level. So they require that you check it once a week to make sure that stays safe. Having to go to the doctor once a week, to me, is not an option. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to go up there once a week. So I've got a home health machine monitor, and I prick my finger, check it. If you've got an app on your phone, I send it in. It's that simple. If it needs to be adjusted, the doctor calls me, tells me what to do, and I make the adjustment with my medication. So that was something else that's a big help, because, you know, for a while after surgery, you're going to expect home health. They're going to be out there at the house. They're going to be drawing blood work. They're going to be checking your heart rate, heart rhythm, blood pressure, all that stuff for a little while. It's just, you know, it's just required. It's just, you know, part of it. But the biggest thing is just make sure that you be patient with that person, because that emotional end of it is very, very strong. And it's not fear. It's hard to explain, but they're going to expect you to love your life more than you have ever loved your life ever. Because that's the way that they feel, and it's still the way I feel. That appreciation for being able to wake up every morning and not be dead, I mean, it is 10 times more than you could ever imagine you ever felt about your life in the past. It's a strange feeling that comes over you. And you can't explain it. I mean, unless somebody goes through it, you just really can't explain it. It makes you realize that you almost died, and that would have been it. So, you know, at 40 years old, I expected to live to be between 70 and 90. So kind of what I was hoping for. You know, it's what you're thinking in your mind, and everything that you ever do, you're causing more or less damage to your body that you're going to have to deal with until you're that age, which you consider to be old. What you learn, you know, when you're in the back of an ambulance heading to the emergency room after you've been told that you're probably not going to make it into surgery, is that you are old for your lifespan. I mean, if you were told at 25 that you were going to live to be 27, I would imagine suddenly you would feel like you were very, very old, because you're almost as old as you're ever going to get. And that perspective is something that never enters your mind, ever. No matter how much you appreciate your life, or appreciate your family, or try to live by the moment, or live for the day, you know, I have been there, done that a million times, and I really felt like I had a better grasp on living for now and appreciating every day and not taking things for granted. And I was way off. Like, until you wake up from that and have this new reality, you don't realize how much you take for granted. And now this person that you know that's coming out of surgery is about to be a crazy person when it comes to perspective and appreciation for life. So, give that to them and listen to them, because they can really teach you some things and make you pay attention to what's important, which is nothing more than just being alive. So anyway, all that being said, I can't really think of nothing else. So now we can go into the YouTube thing. When I was in the hospital, something that helped me recover was just sitting there watching YouTube videos. I mean, you're going to have to keep entertained somehow, because all you're going to do is sleep and get woke up every hour or two for somebody to draw your blood. So I started watching YouTube videos, and I've never been on YouTube and watched YouTube videos for entertainment. I've always stayed so busy between working and hunting or fishing or playing or whatever, that I've never just sat there and I haven't watched a whole lot of internet stuff. So I started watching this guy, Matthew Isbell. He's got Bama Beach Fun Fishing on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. I started watching it. I don't even know how I came across it, but he was fishing down there at the beach at Gulf Shores and around Fort Morgan, Orange Beach, Pensacola, all down through there, and places I've fished my whole life. And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Like I know these places. I know exactly where he's standing. I know where he's fishing. And I'm watching all these videos. He's at different places, and I recognize this spot and that spot. And I'm like, man, I've done that before. Like I've fished those lures. I've fished those spots, caught those fish. Like, and this guy's sitting here doing it, like talking to a camera. This is cool. Like I kind of just, I don't know, got into it real quick because it was something that I had done, and I was interested to know, like, he's catching all these pompano. Like, that's kind of one of those things he's known for. When he first got started was his pompano and whiting trips. He was actually taking people out on these guided surf fishing trips and catching all these fish. Well, I've never caught any whiting or pompano. Like I'd caught jacks down there. I'd caught a lot of bluefish and Spanish mackerel, that kind of stuff, redfish. But I did a lot of artificial bait fishing. I never done any bottom fishing, thrown out any, bait, shrimp, stuff like that. I'd always thrown spoons, topwater, and that kind of thing. Because I'm also a big bass fisherman, and that's just what I like doing when I was down there. Well, when I got to watching all these videos, man, I didn't know the ins and outs of YouTube. And through the entertainment aspect of all of this, while I'm trying to recover from heart surgery, I started watching some of his old videos and kind of learning the importance of having subscribers and the importance of watch time and watch hours and how all this stuff worked. And my brother had tried to tell me to get a YouTube video or YouTube channel 20 years ago, just because of the stuff that I did on a daily basis between hunting and fishing, and now I'm doing taxidermy and gardening and cooking and grilling, just all this different stuff. And I'm sitting there watching these videos, and it was like, man, like, the coolest thing about all this, at the time, I think Matt Isbell had about 250 videos, maybe between there and 300. And I'm looking back at all these videos, I'm like, man, this guy has got a video file of his life for the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, at any time, he can go back and look and be like, man, I remember when me and my wife went here and ate this and did this and made this video. Or I can remember when, my daughter was here with me when we cooked this fish that I caught and we tasted it for the first time. Or, even seeing him, like when he's got all these PB videos where he called his PB sharkers, PB this and that, and you're able to look back at the video of when you caught the biggest redfish you ever caught, and it's on video, and it's on YouTube from now on. And you've got this channel where people can enjoy it and they can watch it and subscribe, and you can get paid for it. But not only that, on a personal level, you can go back and look at it. So I got to thinking. I called my brother and I was asking him kind of how to do this. What do I do? What do I need to do to even make a channel? Like how do I get, what kind of camera do I need? So I bought a cheap camera. Well, I say I bought. My brother gave it to me for Christmas. The camera I'm videoing on right now, he gave to me for Christmas 2 years ago. And I never even really messed with it. Didn't even know how it worked. So I came home from the hospital, sat around doing some research, trying to figure out how I could start doing some of this stuff. Kind of figured it out a little bit, how the camera worked. Took a few videos here or there in the house, just trying to figure out how it operated. And lo and behold, when we had a beach trip in August. First time we were going to leave the house since my surgery. We was nervous. I mean, we done got first aid kits to go with us. We got all this stuff, to take and try to go to the beach, make sure that, I was going to be safe. We were going to have a good time. Well, I bought me a chesty harness for my camera, brought my camera, all my equipment, and I told my buddy Chad, I was like, I'm going to start me a YouTube channel. I was like, I don't know what in the world I'm going to put on it. I don't know how to edit a video. I said, well, while we're at the beach, we're taking the camera with us. So we take it. And I ended up getting my first video, that I had ever done on this camera. I've got some videos on my channel that are old from, old stuff that I recorded on my phone and stuff years ago. But the first video I ever made for my channel specifically, we went out there to Fort Morgan and went fishing and caught these two beautiful redfish that we ended up keeping to eat. Caught multiple other redfish, multiple Spanish mackerel. I mean, just the fish were hammering that morning. We ended up leaving early because we didn't even have anything to carry fish back with. Didn't bring a cooler, didn't bring a backpack, nothing. So we get back. I've got this video footage and stuff. Well, I messaged Matt Isbell on Facebook. Told him, listen, there's fish out here freaking killing it. I was like, I don't know what you're doing for your video tomorrow. I don't know where you're at even. You may not even be in Alabama. I said, but this is what we just did, and it was so much fun. If you would like to or interested, I would go there tomorrow and make a video because they are hammering. I mean, you're going to get some footage of something. Well, he actually messaged me back, told me, I might actually be out there tomorrow. I thought about coming today, didn't go out there, went somewhere else, but tomorrow I may go out there. So I said, we're going to be back for sure. So next morning we went out there. Lo and behold, second we get out there, realize I forgot my camera. So my camera's sitting back at the beach house. I ain't even started a channel yet. I hadn't even made a channel yet. We were just going to try to video some stuff over there to put on, YouTube. So, to me at the time, it was not that important. Well, we get out there. Of course, Matt Isbell shows up. I get to meet the guy, get my picture taken with him, act like the crazy tourist that I am. And really starstruck at the guy because not only is he an awesome fisherman, really cool guy to be around, even meeting him in person, man, super nice. But, he's also a Christian, which I am. I can respect and love about the guy. But during surgery, right after surgery, he's the first guy I see on YouTube. And I'm sitting there watching these videos. So watching him this whole time in the hospital, it's not that I felt like I got to know the guy, but every day he was the one I looked for, and he was the one that kept me entertained while they're pricking me with needles, taking my blood, and I'm trying to recover. So while I'm trying to learn how to do this YouTube thing, I'm trying to figure out, I'm watching Matt's old videos, trying to figure out how he got started, just to see what in the world I needed, what I needed to do, how I needed to go about this. And also kind of getting to know him and his family, because all I'm focused on is my heart healing up so that I can go do something again and beach bum fishing. Bama beach bum fishing on YouTube. So, in the meantime, Brant Peacher, Ron Middleton, old Bearded Brad, now D, that's one of their interns on the Clipbaiters channel, all these guys that fish together all the time. I get to notice on some of their videos, this guy's on here, and who is this guy? I get to look and find him on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. I've never subscribed to a YouTube channel in my life until after I had heart surgery. I don't know how many subscriptions I got now. Now I've got to where I do it out of respect for people just because I like what they do. I like who they are personally, kind of what they support, what they, are all about, what they enjoy. Now that I've started kind of trying to create some content, you don't realize how hard it is to get all this stuff together and to talk to a camera like it's a human being, because you're talking to an audience. So it really throws you off. Some of the first videos I tried to make, we didn't even have any content. All we had was us catching a fish, or us catching a shark, or us driving down the road. And then I'm trying to put it all together. Well, we never talked to the camera. We didn't have any footage of anything. So I'm having to try to cut clips and put this stuff together. In the meantime, I'm trying to learn to edit. We're trying to learn how to upload something to YouTube. I don't even know what that even means, until I do all this stuff. But all of that being said, and I know this may even be getting monotonous and a little bit boring to sit there and watch all of this if you're even still watching, but what it did was that it allowed me to learn how to capture all of these moments. And anybody that has known me for any length of time knows that I have got a camera. I've never been no photographer by any means. I've never had a good camera, an expensive camera, any kind of quality anything really, as far as camera equipment or video stuff. But even when I was 16 years old, I used to ride around with a Kodak disposable 35mm camera in my truck. And you can ask anybody that knew me when I was a kid, they all know that I always had a camera. And there are pictures I've got in stacks and bundles. I'm probably the only guy in the world that's still got giant picture albums. I've got one for deer, one for turkeys, one for fish. Then I've got tons of pictures in albums from the time I was 16 to the time I was 23, 24 years old, of me and all of my buddies before I got married, deep sea fishing trips, everywhere I was the guy with the camera because nobody ever remembered to bring one. This was way back before camera phones, even before cell phones for that matter. We had pagers. But I learned pretty quick when I was young, you know, if you didn't take a picture, if you caught your first big fish, or you did anything for the first time, or saw something really cool for the first time, if you didn't take a picture of it, either nobody believed you, or you would forget about it. You'd be sitting there telling these stories and remember the stuff that happened and think, man, like I can't believe I actually did that. So I got to bring the camera because I could look back at those pictures and be like, God, I forgot that even happened. Well, now you got YouTube channels. And YouTube channels have been around for a long time, but I just discovered it and just understood the subscriptions and how that helps these YouTube guys support their families, because half of them, that's what they do for a living. They don't even have a job. And I would absolutely love, like nothing else, for my wife to be able to quit her job. Now, I'm not going to sit on here and beg for subscribers, but I would love for you to push that subscribe button down there in the corner of the screen, whichever corner it is you're looking at, because I'm still not familiar enough. I think it's going to be down here in this corner. But anyway, if my wife could quit her job and we could make content and she could help me in my shop and we could stay here together daily, it would be the greatest thing that ever happened to me. That's what a lot of these guys do on these channels, is they're able to quit work, but also their wives are able to quit work. You know, and something that's gotten very important to me is the time that I'm able to spend with her, the time I'm able to spend with my family. And my whole life, I've been working all the time. And now that I can work from my house, because I ended up quitting my job. Once all this happened with my heart, and I came out alive, we paid the house off, I quit. Because I realized, you know, you never know when you're as old as you're going to get. I mean, today could be it. Right now could be it. I mean, I got up that morning just to go to the doctor to see why my heart was out of rhythm, and he told me I might not make it to surgery. So now with the YouTube thing, I'm able to capture these moments, and I'm able to record, you know, me sitting here in this chair and my dog barking in the background, and I can look back at it later. I won't remember any of this in a week, but I can watch the video later on and remember when all this happened, along with everything else that I've ever videoed and everything that I've put on YouTube. I sat there, you know, the other night, I was sitting there watching my videos from when I went to Missouri, up there deer hunting. All the deer that I videoed while I was up there, I had forgotten about half of that stuff. And when I'm sitting there watching these videos, it's like I'm watching something on TV. It was funny because I was sitting there watching deer do things on there that I knew why I had turned the camera on, because I wanted to video what they were doing. I got some deer that I got on video bedding down and going to sleep. I got deer, you know, chasing each other. I got a fawn, you know, nursing his mama. Just cool stuff, you know, that you see all the time. And you never recorded it. You know, you never got a chance to show it to somebody else. And you don't get the chance to go back and look at it yourself, which I think is just awesome. So I guess I need to bring this to a close, since this has already been a long video for anybody that has sat through this entire thing. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a long video. And I need to get up and start cleaning up a little bit, start getting ready for supper. So I hope this is going to help somebody. And y'all go down there, hit that subscribe button. Give me a little bit of subscription, a little bit of love. Hit the thumbs up. And maybe I'll have some content in the future that y'all like to watch too. And y'all do me a favor, go to the doctor. You know what I mean? Go get checked out at least once a year. If you think there's something wrong with you, there probably is. And there's a very good chance you got more wrong with you than you think, but it's so much better knowing than not knowing. Trust me. And the doctors ain't gonna hurt you. Trust me, I've had everything done to me now, known to man. I used to pass out and get my blood drawn. Now I just hand them a vein. Yeah. I'll holler at y'all next video. See ya, I'm out.